Hello snowboarders of the internet, I'm your host Avran LeFeber, and in this video we're going to be reviewing the Gnu Antigravity. This board features Mervin Manufacturing C3 camber profile. So what that is camber underfoot with a slight reverse dip between and then a longer flat section in the tip and the tail. And what that's going to do is give you all the load, pop, snap, and drive of traditional camber with that ease of entry in and out of turns, as well as a more optimal spot to press and butter with. This board is available in 150, 153, 156, 159, 162, 159 wide, and 162 wide. I rode this board at Copper Mountain on a day that had overcast skies, hot pow, humidity, slightly warmer temps, chop chunder, flat light, kind of just to mix everything, a lot of slush at the bottom of the mountain, and I rode it with my Rome Black Label bindings and my K2 Thraxis boots. This board comes in at right around a middle of the road flex. You have a little bit more play in the tip and the tail just due to where that flat section is. And then right where the camber comes down outside the inserts, it stiffens up until you hit that dip of the reverse between the feet, and that aids in the torsional flex. When it comes to stability, for the most part, this thing's pretty stable due to the construction of it. It dampens that kinetic energy that would normally come up under your foot and fatigue you. The tips do get a little bit of chatter, but most of that is killed off before it actually hits the insert packs. If you're in softer snow that's kind of lumpy, it'll push through it. If it's firmer, it kind of just skips across the top. It wasn't one of those boards where I felt like you needed to be aware that you needed to keep your knees bent because you were going to get bucked around. But that never hurts to keep your knees bent. Just trust me on that. The nice thing about a C3 camber profile is it feels like a broken in cambered board. It's very easy to engage. So when you load up the camber section and you roll back on the tail, it's going to snap. It's predictable. You know what you're going to get. It's not the snappiest board out there, but it's got more than enough to get the job done, which makes it easy for hit and side hits or launch and rollers. You really don't have to worry about it. When you go to Ollie slow sign, you're going to probably have to put in a little bit more work. When it comes to jumps, small, medium, large, it can handle them all. I would say that medium and small jumps are really its strong suit. If you're going to the bigger jumps, be a competent rider. I see a lot of incompetent riders trying to hit the big line, and they shouldn't do that. But overall, it's one of those boards, if you're laid back, the lip will throw you, and if you load it up and pop at the last minute, you're going to get a little bit more snap, maybe go a little higher, go a little bit further. It does set down nice in the landing. It's very predictable in the air, and it's very predictable with the takeoff and the landing as well. All right, so we're about halfway through this review. I need you to do something for me. Go down, click that thumbs up, give this video a like. While you're at it, if you haven't already, why don't you subscribe, click the bell, get those notifications. That way you're not missing any of the videos we got coming out for you. When it comes to buttering, you got these big sweet spots where there's that flat section before the upkick in the nose and the tail, and you want to leverage your weight out over it, really press into it, and it's going to hold. It's not really going to fight you per se. You might notice that there's a little bit of rebound in there, but not enough that you're like, oh God, I got to bring my A game. You're more like, oh hey, it's there. Now you would think that that rebound would give you some snap, but unless you swizzle hip this thing and just really accentuate your hips out over it, you're not going to get anything out when you're buttering. It is easy to engage, it's easy to hold, so you don't have to worry about that. And that kind of translates over to how this thing actually jibs. It locks into presses. I mean, it wouldn't be my first choice of a jib board from Gnu, but it'll get the job done. So you're gonna be able to nose press, you're gonna be able to tail press, it's gonna hold it till you get to the end of the feature, and it's gonna pop out. When you go sideways, because of that slight dip in the C3, it's gonna wanna kick you a little bit more under your front or back foot, depending on where you keep your weight. So just be aware that if you think you're gonna just come right into the middle and it's gonna fully cradle it, it's not. It's gonna kind of try to kick you out a little bit unless you come from the top rope and really disaster. The flex is abundant in this, so it's really gonna cradle around the feature and you're not gonna have to worry about it with that. This board has a smooth edge-to-edge power transmission. It's kind of mellow, it's not super aggressive, but it will allow you to transition into the toe edge, go flat base, back over to the heel edge without having to put a ton of power. This really helps it with short, tight, quick carves or medium, mellow carves. When you're going for a deeper, harder, more aggressive carve, you really have to drive your knee into the center of this board, push down into that C3 and then drive it off the tail. And when you do, it's gonna let you lay it over and do a Euro carve. It's not gonna allow you to really roop it hard, where you're gonna slingshot out of a turn, then transition it right over and do that again. There's a little bit of a delay if you're trying to get that type of a carve with it. But overall, it's one of those boards that feels most at home, just cruising the blues, doing a big swoopy turn where you're locked in, you feel it grip, you don't really have to worry about it. Rider in mind, this board is for the do-it-all intermediate rider that's only gonna have one board. They're going from the peak to the park, through the POW, cruising the blues, and they don't have to worry about anything. Like what we're doing over here? Want to support us further? Swing on over to Angry Snowboarder VIP and become a member. Sure, I could tell you more here, but I got a video over there that explains it so much better. Overall, this is a solid board for the category it's in. In my opinion, it's maybe a hair stiffer than other boards that it relates to from other brands, but that's fine. It just makes you work a little bit harder to get a little more performance out of it. Snap solid, edge hold solid. You can kind of just do anything with it. It's a board you get on and you forget that it's there. It just does what you need it to do. Comparable boards: the wired Recon, the Rome Warden, the Ride Shadowban. Binding recommendations: the bent metal Axtion, the Ride C6, the Rome Vice. This has been my review of the Gnu Antigravity. Not sure this is the deck for you? Why don't you go check out one of the other reviews from one of the comparable boards I just mentioned.